the same, these are all the same participants that were in here previously.
Okay, no, that's fair then. I just double checking. Hate to duplicate.
Kevin, I did not record your vote before we had to exit.
Okay, aye.
Thank you.
Seamless.
Square?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Next item of next hearing is ORD 21-001, public hearing and possible vote to recommend the approval of amendments to sections 405.020 definitions, 405.150 local commercial district regulations, and C2 general commercial district regulations. Staff report.
Thank you. The issue before you this evening is consideration to approve amendments to the zoning ordinance, section 405.020 definitions, 405.150 C1 local commercial, and the C2 general commercial regulations. So the City of Republic is requesting amendments to these sections to provide additional clarity to the language of the zoning ordinance and to facilitate growth in the City of Republic. I'm going to highlight just a few of the changes in addition to your reading the report. So we've added several definitions, one being convenience store. Any building or structure used for the dispensing, sale, or offering for sale at retail of any automobile fuels, which may include retail sales, not to include any type of automobile-related service or repair. Pergola, an outdoor accessory structure consisting of vertical posts or pillars and supporting cross beams and without walls, forming a shaded walkway, passageway, or sitting area, not attached to any structure. There are some minor revisions to the language for several definitions. We've also clarified on perimeter landscaping. There is a difference between the landscaping section calling for 6-foot green space defined for perimeter landscaping, so we've made that change so we have consistency throughout. We've also added under tracts or premise, we've added or tracts of land, so a premise is now any land consisting of one or more tracts of land. Moving on to section C1, we're removing filling stations. Under 405.150 B16, we are making a clarification regarding residential uses. Residential uses are allowed in the C1 zoning district, provided such uses are located above the first floor or behind non-residential uses in a single attached mixed-use building. We're adding pet daycare to section 405.150 B20, also allowing for accessories, so no outside cages, kennels, fences, equipment, and materials, or accessories to this business shall be stored outside or used on the premises. Moving on to sections for general commercial, we're adding filling stations as a permitted use. That is the all of the changes for definitions C1 and C2 at this time. Staff is recommending the approval of the referenced amendments, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
You might have questions. All right. Since the city was, I'm sorry, did somebody say yes? Since the city's the applicant, I suppose, is there anyone that's anyone else that's in favor of this application? Hearing no one, is there anyone who's opposed to it? Hearing no one. Anybody have questions? Everybody seems well satisfied. Do I have
I motion to vote to approve the consideration to approve amendments to sections 405-020 definitions, 405.150 C1 local commercial district regulations, and C2 general commercial district regulations.
Sounds good. Do your second?
I second.
All right. Want to call the roll?
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner Andrews,
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
Commissioner Crosby,
Aye.
Commissioner Hahn. It looks like Kevin may have fallen off. Zoom link.
Oh. Yeah. What you do? Did you get in trouble again?
He's hopping back in. I'm gonna go ahead and admit him real quick, and then we'll continue on.
Trouble again? Huh?
I have a question about the finding of facts, because a lot of the questions, a yes or no, really don't apply to that. Do we just leave those blank at that point?
Let's finish the vote real quick, since Kevin just got on with us.
Kevin, did you hear the motion and the second?
No, but sure. There's,
We can have it repeated if you would like to vote.
whatever's easier for you.
I'll just go ahead and repeat that, Mr. Chairman, if that's okay.
Sure. I think the motion was to recommend the approval of amendments to sections 405.020 definitions, 405.150 C1 local commercial district regulations, and C2 general commercial district regulations. And there was a second.
Commissioner Hahn, your vote.
Oh, aye.
Thank you.
Oh,
Okay, we have now your question.
Do you need me to restate the question?
Well, your question was, how do I address the report form that we send in? Well, I haven't looked at it, but if it's not applicable to this particular thing, then I don't know how you can say it other than you agreed with it or didn't. Somebody else.
If, each line item is not applicable to a particular vote, you may leave that blank. And then just be sure that if you have any reasonings behind your vote, that you are including those in the comment section. Those are read by the City Council.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think we can move to ordinance 21-002, public hearing and possible vote to recommend the approval of amendments to Article 4A Plan Development District. Staff report.
Thank you. So tonight we are considering amendments to Article 4 for Plan Development Districts. The City of Republic is requesting these amendments to the Pdd Ordinance to provide additional clarity to the language of the ordinance and to further facilitate growth in the City of Republic. So under 405.210, the purpose and intent of the PDD district, these regulations are intended to allow for mixed-use, unconventional, or innovative arrangements of land uses and public facilities. So we are adding mixed use and also taking out and allowing for one or the other as far as the qualifier for the purpose and intent of the ordinance. We are removing the last portion of that. It does require verification of not circumventing the conventional zoning regulations. Under 405-220 applicability, again, we're making some further clarifications regarding the ordinance. We've added, in addition to City of Republic's comprehensive plans, to also include any of the other adopted plans of the city, which does include the transportation plan, water and wastewater master plans, and then also the parks master plan. Under development plans, again, we've made some clarifications. PDDs no longer under this amendment are required to have any type of use or facility to serve the public interest. We're also removing the promotion of the public interest in a sense of community as a requirement for development plans. And then just a further clarification and some renumbering of that section. Staff is recommending approval of the reference amendments. You do have the entire PDD district included in your packet tonight for full context of our requested amendments. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anyone have questions?
Karen, is this something that you guys like look at after you get feedback from people who applied to do PDDs in our town, or?
We do. We try to take feedback continuously. So after we've gone through the PDD process, now a couple of times, this is the second major amendment to this ordinance. Back in 2018 or early 2019, we made a major amendment and a shift into what you see today for the PDD ordinance. And since then, we've made some small changes as we've gone through the process with applicants and spoken with them, heard their comments and questions, looked at the context of the PDD ordinance and our general intent with that ordinance in context with our entire zoning ordinance. So we kind of keep track of changes throughout the year and wait until we have a couple of changes before we bring those changes forward to you all as an official amendment.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to support the application? Is there anyone that wishes to come forward in opposition to the application? Hearing no one, I'll close the hearing, go to our discussion. Does everybody understand what's going on?
Okay.
I guess I'll make a motion to approve the,
Recommend the approval of amendments to Article 4A Plan Development District.
yes.
There's a second?
Second.
Thank you, Cynthia. Call the roll.
Commissioner Crosby,
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner Hahn,
Aye.
and Commissioner Andrews.
Aye.
Hey,
Thank you.
Move to ordinance, our final hearing, ordinance 21-003, public hearing and possible vote to recommend the approval of amendments to chapter 415 sign regulations. Can we hear the staff report, please?
So, before you tonight is consideration to approve amendments to chapter 415, sign regulations. We've been slowly over time making improvements to this ordinance, putting together some stuff and then coming forward whenever we do have something material. This is another case of this. This ordinance is one that we believe is needlessly confusing and not quite as clear as it ought to be. So we've taken the effort to try and fix some of those problems. So many of the changes that are in this amendment that you'll see in the included ordinance itself with the struck text and added text are housekeeping items, some grammatical spelling changes, fixing words to make sure that they match other portions of it. So those won't be included in here. They're included in this general housekeeping items. However, all of those changes are included in the actual ordinance itself that you have as a exhibit to this. So first, I point you to section 415.020, the definitions. We've added a definition, animated/animation, and this refers to the employment of physical motion, the illusion of motion, or light or color changes created through mechanical or electrical means. So here we've just tried to fill a gap that we needed to put in our ordinance. In places that reference this, we need to make sure we have definitions to explain what these are. We've revised the definition for attached sign, taking a piece out of the ordinance that requires that all attached signs not extend further further than 18 inches from the connected structure, nor beyond the edge of the wall to which they are attached. And we've just added that in the definition to remove some of that text from various pieces of the actual ordinance itself. Business area, any district designated under Chapter 405 of the Republic City Code for office, commercial or industrial uses, including planned development districts whose development plans contain districts with similar purposes. So this, the goal here was to include planned development districts in business areas. They obviously sometimes do have business areas in them, so we wanted to make sure that the PDDs were covered by that. City building, the building inspector has been changed to just the city inspector as a position. We cleared that up. The directional sign, we've removed instances of pole and replaced them with freestanding, just to kind of explain, to kind of create a dichotomy of different types of signs. And so here we're referencing one of those. Effective area, the surface enclosed by the minimum imaginary arrangement of three-dimensional geometric figures, which fully contain all extreme limits of the copy on a sign. So we felt that the previous definition was extravagant in its attempt to describe the same concept, so we believe this is a bit of a simplification of that. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to section 415.030, exempt signs. So we've removed a couple of exemptions from 415.030.a, which are banner signs and directional signs. These have areas where they're accounted for, both these signs in other areas of the sign ordinance. So we're trying to avoid situations where it is unclear what the intent of the ordinance is, whether there needs to be a permit for something or not. This was one of those instances for both of these. We've clarified language to match in 415.030.a.10.g to match the intention that each sign may be 4 square feet for incidental signs. Attached incidental signs are these small menu signs that you'll see sometimes on restaurants where they will have maybe a magnetic sign and switch out copy on your way to the drive-in or to the drive-up menu. So these small signs, we're not looking to permit them based on if they're a size of 4 square feet in effective area or less. 415.030.a.12, we've added specifications for menu board signs. This was previously not very clear and also did not account for walk-up customers, so we've clarified that menu board signs may be for the service of walk-up customers. We've set restrictions on the total number of menu board signs based on walk-up service, windows, and drive-through lanes to 1 per each. And we've clarified the size allowance for menu board signs that facilitate double-faced signage. So now we've accounted for the fact that many modern menu signs have signage on both sides, especially a walk-up sign, you're likely to see that. Section 415.080 for signs in business areas. 415.080.b, general provisions. We've altered this so that commercial signs may no longer locate within 25 feet of a non-business area. So what you'll see is this will apply most exclusively to detached signs. The idea is not to have a freestanding sign where the view shed of the sign would, overlook the property of someone's house. 415.08.b, detached signs. The maximum height for signage has been changed from 25 to 40 feet. The amendment is designed to provide more options to businesses desiring greater visibility in a growing marketplace. This is something that we've looked at for a while in order to make sure that not only are businesses more viewable in properties that are a little bit set back from the road, but that we're also kind of in line with the rest of the region in this amendment. It also prohibits signs from encroaching upon an easement at all. Section 415.110, directional signs. Directional signs are what you see when you enter into a drive-through or a restaurant and they kind of route you around. They're basically arrows with maybe the logo of the business on them. Previously, it was a little bit unclear how they were supposed to be treated by the ordinance, whether they were detached signs. They're not really appropriate to take the spot of a detached sign. So we provided some guidelines about the allowable height and area and how such signs must interact with the sign ordinance itself. So basically, what we're looking at is we've limited the total for these attached signs to so that they don't exceed 4 feet in height above the ground under the sign, so that they guide circulation for the premises of vehicular or foot traffic, and that they adhere to the guidelines of on-premises detached signs with the following exceptions. Directional signs do not count towards the total number of detached signs allowed for the premises, and the effective area of directional signage does not contribute to the total effective area allowed for detached signs on the premises unless the effective area of the directional sign is greater than 10 square feet, or non-essential copy, meaning logo, business name, product, or service, occupies more than 50% of the effective area. So basically, these directional signs, they're very common in a drive-through. We want to make sure that the traffic and foot traffic, vehicular and foot traffic, are both guided around the queuing area in an orderly way, while at the same time making sure that the business isn't able to limit the directional portion and use it kind of as a free advertisement for their business. So we put a little bit of a limit on the effective area there. I think that kind of covers the non-housekeeping items for the ordinance. Staff's recommending approval of the referenced amendment.
Right. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of the amendment? Is there anyone here that wishes to speak is opposed to the amendment? Somebody want to make a motion?
I do have a question. And I understand that this is kind of housekeeping and we're just trying to change the verbiage to where it makes more sense. In any of the instances where we're actually changing guidelines, do we know if there's anybody outside of the lines on this that we're actually going to go back and say, oh no, you can't have that sign now? I mean, is there actual like a community impact to this decision? Or are they grandfathered in because we can't change an ordinance and then tell them that sign's not correct now?
The age-old
We
question.
won't. They are effectively grandfathered in. They would be a legal non-conforming sign at that point. We wouldn't remove anyone's sign from their business due to a passing of this ordinance.
Okay.
However, where their signs, the great majority of this is what I would view as a loosening of the regulations, with some small exceptions. But there might be a case where, a hypothetical where someone was a legal non-conforming, and if they were to replace the sign entirely, we would not necessarily let them replace that in full. So, that hypothetical, if you're non-conforming and you're grandfathered in, you're not allowed to like come in and put a totally new sign up that does the same thing. You're not allowed to, but you can continue that signage. You could replace the copy in a cabinet of a sign, and you could repair a sign up to a certain degree.
You're not grandfathered in forever. Like, you can't replace what you have, but the current sign's fine. Okay.
You can't replace, if there was some extensive damage to the sign, we wouldn't necessarily let you rebuild it. And you can't replace it, you can't put a new version of the same sign up, basically. You could leave this sign up forever, though, as is.
Do I hear a motion?
As soon as I get there, there was a lot.
May I speak just briefly, please? I'm not sure. I'm not speaking necessarily against the motion. I would like to offer comment on just a little bit of the verbiage. Is this an appropriate time to do that?
I think there was some confusion about the language of in opposition or in support of. I think we have someone who would like to speak in maybe what we would usually term opposition of.
Okay. I'll allow you to speak. The time to speak was when either you're for it or you're against it, and that was during the hearing. The hearing is over with, but I'll allow you to speak.
Okay, I apologize. I've not attended one of these meetings virtually before, and there's a little bit of lag, and I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. My name's Matt Huff.
We're happy to have you.
I appreciate it. My name is Matt Huff. I'm at 937 West Broad. I'm speaking on behalf of Blue Duck Decals. We're a sign contractor here in town. I have one concern about, let me get up here where the section is. It's 415.130 under permits and inspection. Under section, I believe, C8. Drawings shall require a seal by an architect or an engineer when a sign is a detached sign, projecting sign, or a roof sign, or is determined necessary by the community development director. While we as an industry definitely don't have a problem with an architect or an engineer having to sign and stamp a plan based on something safety oriented or something that would compromise the structural integrity of a building. I'd like to just express a little concern over the verbiage of a detached sign blanketly as requiring a drawing. I would like to share the idea that maybe the word detached be replaced with freestanding sign, something that's taller in nature, where you have more wind loading and that sort of thing, where you can actually have a safety concern associated with it. A lot of the post and panel signs and monument signs, the frames and components for those are generally commercially available, and the engineering is sort of done by the manufacturers on those. And I wonder if it doesn't create a little bit of a burden on the customer to have the cost built in for an engineer to sign off on something that sits directly on the ground, where I don't think anybody would offer any opposition to that being required for something that stands up higher off the ground, where maybe there's more of a life safety concern associated with it. So that's just my 2 cents worth on that. I don't want to have any undue burden for small businesses in town, and obviously it's an expense we'll just have to pass along. We have contacts in place to be able to have those things taken care of, but I wonder if that's not maybe just a little bit of an excessive expense for somebody to put maybe a monument sign on the ground. If a contractor can operate a tape measure and submit a proper plot plan for the property, I think that maybe for most detached signs that would probably suffice. And that's all I have to offer. I appreciate you letting me speak, and I apologize for jumping in at the wrong time.
Not a problem. Okay.
Ransom, do you mind if I respond a little bit, provide some information?
Sure.
I want to thank Matt for bringing the comments to us. It is important for us to have people who, this is what they do, providing some guidance when we look at these ordinances, because, we have a variety of things to overlook, and, it's good to have expertise coming in to help us out with some of this. Generally, we have been, I agree that there's probably some better way for that to be done that we haven't done yet, and we will be looking at the sign ordinance at a larger level and taking another stab at this in a few months. Currently, we use a little bit of discretion with what a detached sign, when it does actually require sign seal of an architect. I'm sure you're aware. We don't require that in every case. So we are trying to figure out what that middle ground is. And we will, as we move forward, try and find better definitions that definitely say what we want them to say.
Hey,
right
Chris.
now, our main goal is health and safety. That's, predominantly how we look at that. We don't view ourselves as aesthetic police on this, but we are very interested in the side of making sure that wind load, when it is necessary, is calculated. So we do, we definitely have some more to look into before we come through with this again.
Hey, Chris.
But I did want to thank you for bringing your comments up. Yes, Andrew?
I want to make just a comment real quick. I think maybe the definition of detached is a little bit maybe in question, but I think what Matt, I appreciate your comments. I think what he's asking for, we already provide, in a sense that we've got myself and another engineer on staff. So what we would do is try to use the common sense approach that Matt's asking for. And if there's a sign that, as he referenced, is something that just sits on the ground that really isn't structurally in question, we would waive that requirement for an engineering stamp or an architect's approval. So I think we have that flexibility in the ordinance, but I do understand a little bit of the confusion of the definition of a detached sign.
Great. Thanks. I think we were about to vote. Am I correct?
I'm waiting on a motion.
Okay, we had a motion. Thank you. Get us to the right slot. Do I hear a motion?
Ransom, I'll ask one more question.
Okay, sure.
Does that answer, is that good enough for Matt? Is that good enough for you to answer your question, or?
Yes, and I appreciate the follow-up on that. Thank you.
Okay, Ransom, I'll make a motion to approve the change, or trying to find my
Amendments?
Yes.
The amendments to chapter 415 sign regulation.
Yes.
Awesome. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Want to call the roll?
Commissioner Andrews,
Aye.
Commissioner Crosby,
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner Hahn.
Aye.
Okay, let me make a comment here. I don't know if it's in the right place, but I was just looking at the findings of fact that you give us to fill out. And I don't want anybody to be confused. I received separate findings of fact in my packet that I got, you gave to me. I don't know what the electronic looks like, but those are correct. The ones that aren't correct are the ones in the stapled version, which has everything together. And it's only a minor problem. The on ordinance on rezone 21003, it actually says ordinance. And there's an ordinance, another ordinance 21003. That makes sense?
Yes,
Try
thank
to
you.
get the wrong form, because then it's going to be confusing for the council. And I-
Yeah, the intention was to include those other ones in. I did, when I put that together, that's my mistake, I missed that. The intention was that you guys would use the loose ones, rather than pull those out there. But yeah, I did intend for them all to be correct. Thank you.
It's really not a problem, just didn't want there to be some confusion with the council when they got it and they were looking at the comments.
Yes, please use the ones that were attached, that were not attached to your packet. Thank you, Ransom.
Okay. Other business. Any other business? That was other business. So any other business? Nope. Citizen,
Chairman, may I have just a moment?
do what?
May I have just a moment?
Yes, of course.
Perfect, thank you. So please do return your findings of fact either in the self-addressed stamped envelope. You can drop them off here at our office. You can email them or send me a picture or tell me to come get them from your house. So we definitely do need them, and we do have council next Tuesday, so it's very important that I have those available to council as soon as I can. One other item very quickly, we'll be sending a reminder regarding the findings of fact in emails tomorrow. We're also considering a change to our time for our P&Z meetings from 7 to 6. So we'll be having a poll regarding whether that works for you. Looking forward to the remainder of the year, we will be transitioning to new chambers at the police station once that project is complete. So we will go back to meeting in person at some point in the future. My best guess would be sometime maybe June, maybe July, just depending on how things go. So please also take that into consideration and be thinking ahead for that. If we are in the same error that we are right now, obviously we'll be taking every precaution that we can as far as maintaining distances and those types of things. So return your findings of fact, and then please also let us know if 6 p.m. versus 7 p.m. for P&Z meetings would work for you.
Okay. We're to citizen participation. If there's anyone here online that wishes to participate on a matter that we tell us your point of view on something, preferably something we haven't addressed tonight in a public hearing, we would enjoy hearing it now. No one coming forward. Is there a community development department update?
No, sir, that was it.
All right. How about the comprehensive plan update?
Not tonight.
All right. Well, then that just leaves one item on the list. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Good. Got everybody together on that. Call the roll.
Commissioner Andrews,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner Hahn,
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
and Commissioner Crosby.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you
See you
all.
next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be in touch. Good night.
Good night.